I first decided to play Touhou many years ago. I had but one goal: hear my favorite song played in its intended context. Reach for the moon, immortal smoke. So I downloaded Imperishable Night and committed myself to completing the game on normal mode, and not easy, because of— Upon completing the game, I was confused to find the end credits roll without hearing my favorite song or hearing even a mention of Fujiwara no Moko. I didn't do research because I didn't want spoilers, but I gave up on it. I did not want to waste any more effort. Turns out Moko, whose boss theme is my favorite song, is in an even harder extra stage you unlock by beating the game on normal twice, against two different difficult final bosses, of course. After going through all of that, again, the extra stages, well, difficult. So much so that even getting to Moko, my favorite song in this single stage of masochism, seemed impossible. Because of this one person in my way. Keine, Kamishirasawa. But I was too far in by that point. I had already reached a level of competency that far surpassed my expectations. I didn't have to complete it. All I needed to do was just see Moko, spell card or two, and hear that song play. Through every failed attempt, the mid-boss of the extra stage, Keine, Kamishirasawa, was there to make me feel hopeless. And right before she obliterates me, she says this. She was talking to me. She was talking to me. She knew what I wanted, and this fucking bitch was enjoying holding me back. And how weak and pathetic I am to even think of seeing Moko. Heaven forbid to lay even a single finger on her. Well, time to practice. When I started, I knew nothing of Touhou lore, save for basic traits about the characters I picked up from seeing them posted around the internet, as well as listening to a few Touhou and Touhou fan songs on Osu. I slowly put some of the pieces together through my many playthroughs of the game, and even discovered through wiki pages that there is a readme in the game files that has even more info on what is going on. The basic story of Touhou is as thus. Insokyo is an olden-time Japanese place that exists in current time but is separated from the modern world by a barrier of magic. Here, yokai prowl at night and humans go about their business during the day. The events of Imperishable Night, the moon is altered, which threatens to destroy the balance between human and yokai, as the yokai draw their power from the moon. The powerful human, the shrine maiden Reimu, and a powerful yokai, the yokai of boundaries, Yukari, join forces and freeze the night in place as they set out to try and fix the moon, making it imperishable. Deadly and carnivorous yokai of the night attack them as they pass through the forest on their directionless journey to figure out what is going on. It had always confused me why there was so much art and fan work for a bullet hell game. I had assumed that it was just because the music was good. That it was popular, that is. The oftentimes unique visuals and Limited space with which to tell a story in an arcade shoot-'em-up like this seemed an impossible vessel to tell a compelling story. But I was wrong. Reimu and Yukari eventually stop by the human village, and find that the entire village, and all of the humans in it, are gone. Nothing is left of their houses or the landscape but a surreal mosaic. Despite the limited text in the game, the visuals, gameplay, and music do a lot of heavy lifting to carry the narrative weight of the story. The game is almost always tense, wherein one bullet can kill you and harm your run at any time. Your nerves being on edge in this sense makes the things that happen within the game hit harder because of that emotional connection. The attacks which threaten your life are oftentimes beautiful, and represent the characters that are using them. Combined with the famous soundtrack and small bits of dialogue, these elements combined over multiple playthroughs of a difficult but short game can really make you care about these characters. Colors of the tapestry alter, before the entire background flips to reveal an illusory black, white, blue, and red sketch of what once was the human village. Keine appears, attacking without warning. Upon proving that you're not the usual weak yokai, she speaks. The background turns red as the situation escalates, before Keine's spell card takes over the scene with what appears to be brass-colored gears, like those from an old clock. Keine immediately stands apart from the prior animalistic yokai bosses of Imperishable Night. She wears formal dress, and her attacks are often orderly and symmetrical. Both her attacks and her dress share similar vibrant shades of blue and red, giving them a royal appearance. Having underestimated her opponents, Keine retreats in preparation for her final stand. The name of the Stage 3 track, Nostalgic Blood of the East, Old World, speaks to the legacy and history of the human village, as well as Keine herself in relation to it. It is melancholic and tense to fit the seemingly dire and hopeless circumstance the humans in Keine perceive themselves in. Keine reveals that she has disappeared the human village by manipulating history in order to protect them. Yukari doesn't really care because her power over borders allows her to see through the spell. Reimu, on the other hand, wants to punish her. Before the misunderstanding can resolve itself, Yukari insults Keine over being half yokai and half human. To defend her honor, she attacks. Her theme, Plain Asia, carries a similar feel as Nostalgic Blood, but much faster paced. What sounds like chanting voices hum in the background in support of an eclectic piano and high-pitched trumpets. Kaine's spell cards reference the history of the humans she is protecting. They speak of pyramids, of ancient crises, of sacred treasures, and of the Emperor who she can now only invoke as a phantasm. A text file within the game containing a profile for each character provides more information. It reads that she is a rare Hakutaku, with the ability to consume history in her human form and create it in her yokai form. She only uses these abilities to help humans. In perfect memento in strict sense, an official Toho book, a Hakutaku is described as a yokai which appears to virtuous rulers at the beginning of their reign, warning them of future calamities and guiding them on the path of righteousness. She runs a school in the village, teaching children and recording history there every day. Humans in the village describe her as being a bit dry, formal, stubborn, and a terror if you forget your homework. Keine is unique as a Toho character in this sense, as she is the only boss enemy of the games that I have played who lives in and is directly associated with the human village. The human village being such an important part of Gensokyo gives Keine an important role in the Toho narrative in helping characterize them, and in being one of their few protectors. Beat up, battered and teary-eyed, Keine finally realizes the misunderstanding as Reimu and Yukari demand her to put the village back. As a half-yokai, she knows of the alteration in the moon, but didn't see it as a threat to the humans, so didn't bother acting until the night was frozen. Surprisingly, she points them in the right direction, apparently already familiar with the perpetrators of the altered moon. Now, I won't explain all of the story of Imperishable Night to avoid spoiling everything, but there is one more piece of vital information in order to understand the extra stage, and that is the extra story. In another text file within the game, there is a scene where each of the playable human characters are lounging about at the Hakurei Shrine after the events of the Imperishable Night. They are bored, what with the true full moon having been restored, and everything being back to as it was as if nothing happened. During these laments, Kaguya, the antagonist of the game, challenges the girls to take on a trial of guts, where a team of 2 would set out at midnight into the bamboo forest, where yokai are at their most powerful. They all get the feeling that she is hiding something, but nevertheless, they take turns setting off at the dead of night. After having practiced a lot, the extra stage becomes easier, and as one reaches a level of competency, their emotions better align with the often cocky and confident nature of the protagonists. Reimu rarely gets overly worried or fears that she will lose, and rushes forward with reckless abandon, literally against the control of the player as the background endlessly scrolls towards danger despite the player's wishes. Initially, this can make one feel a disconnect between themselves and the character, as they frantically fight for their lives as Reimu makes light of the situation only to perish horribly. But as you get better, your own feelings and the characters align themselves together. You no longer feel a challenge. You seek it. You come to understand Reimu and why she disrespects and makes light of the bosses, because you feel the same way. They've been trivialized. You understand why that when she sees the fully powered yokai Keine approach her, she reacts with disappointment, asking herself, is this it? I've beaten this person before. I know she's weak. I know I'm better. Despite the night, despite her power increase. Is this the trial that I've gone on that is supposedly so dangerous? No. No, it isn't her. Kaine's weak. I already know this. It must be something more. I must press on. After battling through the perils of the night, a voice is heard from within the bamboo forest. It is then, while under the eminence of the restored full moon's light, as she appears.
Moko floats before the pair. She immediately insults Reimu for being foolish for risking her life. Her hands relax in the pockets of her baggy clothing. A carefree look rests on her face. No normal human can survive a night like this, let alone one of such an expression. When she learns that Reimu is human, she struggles to believe how a mortal could be so idiotic to risk their life like this. When Kaguya is mentioned, the pieces fall into place for her. These are more assassins. Moko states that she is unable to die, cursed by Kaguya with eternal life through the power of the Horai elixir, placing the two of them in an endless conflict of one another. The fight begins, and Reach for the Moon, Immortal Smoke plays. The song of a phoenix, cursed to burn forever in a beautiful inferno, one which now has a rare chance to be unleashed. As a human, Moko lacks the resilience of the earlier yokai bosses. When she gets injured, her body is obliterated. It then immediately resurrects itself. Moko is not fazed by this. The moment her body reconstitutes, she's on the offensive again. As her spell cards activate, she grows vibrant red wings. Her face and portrait fill up the background in a swirl of nightly blues. She attacks by throwing talismans, invoking ancient curses, and conjuring her inner flames. Her attacks all speak to her pain. The seals which she fires and that adorn her pants do not cure her. Curses which she has accumulated over her long life, she shares with the protagonists. The flames which burn from her body sear and spread from her flesh as she harms herself without a second thought. No surprise Moko is frustrated with Reimu. She, with the freedom of her mortality, would choose to risk it all in a pointless trial of guts. Kaguya knew where Moko would be, and in confidence too, because this is where Moko usually is. She spends her time alone in the bamboo forest of the lost, away from others. Most of the people that she knew in her life are long since dead. It makes sense then that she doesn't spend time in the human village. She doesn't relate to them anymore. Even if she did, she would live on and be forced to watch them die. Let alone if they even accept someone as dangerous as her. Why pointlessly suffer? So she stays here in the bamboo forest, where only powerful yokai and fairies dwell, perhaps searching for Kaguya's mansion which is magically hidden amongst the green. But there is one other being besides Kaguya who has known Moko for just as long. Moko activates her final spell card, Horai Doll. When I first saw the spell card, it all clicked for me. She is trapped, puppet to the Horai elixir. Her body itself rejects and caves in on her as the endless pressure surrounds and builds. There is no escape for her, and things only ever get worse. Moko crashes to the ground, her energy expunged, and her clothes burned. She lingers in pain. Reimu and Yukari crack jokes at her expense, Yukari going so far as to say they will eat her guts to gain immortality. Reimu refuses Yukari's jest, not wanting to lose her humanity. Moko is offended by this, not confident in what she is, but still seeing herself as human. The pair leave her on the ground as they head back home. It was at this point that I understood Keine. He feels responsible for Moko's suffering. Moko was once a human, someone who Keine swore to protect for the Emperor, one of the only humans who have lived for close to as long as her. Despite this, ever since Moko was cursed, he hasn't been able to help her, despite her best efforts. As time treks on, she hasn't forgotten about her. When she pointed Reimu and Yukari towards Kaguya, she knew it was going to happen, so she prepared. She didn't bother going to Moko's side, knowing nothing she could say would help her. That warning her of the assassins would only upset her anyways. So she awaits by herself, knowing that she will lose. Those two are strong enough to defeat Kage after all. And even with the power of her yokai form under the full moon, she knows she is doomed to fail. She would feel guilty if she didn't try. Even though she can't help Moko, even though she knows it is pointless, she can't allow herself to let it go. So she invokes the past and future history of Gensokyo. And in both of them, she's poised to protect Moko. When I hear Extend Dash, and Kaine's entrance plays, I'm reminded of these feelings. I love Keine.